Hey guys, I'm Mudfaerie, and I'm going to be talking about Retribution Paladins in Legion. Now, a little bit about myself. I read with Exiled Power, and I'm no theory crafter, but I did get my cutting edge, and I have been in the top World 100 Retribution Paladins before, so you can at least kind of trust what I'm saying. Now, there's going to be like a little table of contents thingy here. Click the button to what you're interested in. Stats. So for stats, most important is weapon damage, then strength. And then for secondaries, we want to stack haste until 30%. This is because it will keep our judgment debuff on our target up effectively all the time we need it to be. Then you want to go for crit because it scales well, and versatility and mastery are kind of crap. Now for rotation, you're going to want to keep judgment up on your target. This is because it increases the damage that your holy power spenders do to that target. Naturally, you only want to use your holy power spenders, like Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm, within the judgment window. Now, to generate holy power, your most important priority is to use Wake of Ashes. This is your artifact ability, and it generates 5 holy power and does a crap ton of damage. Don't waste your holy power. You can only have 5 at one time, so do not overcap. Next is Crusader Strike. You have 2 charges of this. Don't waste your charges. When you see that you're coming up on 2 charges, you want to use it as long as you're not going to waste the holy power it generates. And of course, we've got Blade of Wrath, Blade of Justice, Divine Hammer, whichever talent you choose. It's going to generate you 2 holy power. You want to use it on cooldown as often as possible. It's generally the Paladin philosophy. And of course, we've got our big cooldown, Avenging Wrath or Crusade, and it increases all the damage you do for 20 seconds. Use it on cooldown, or whenever sounds smart. Let's talk talents. Final Verdict is the best talent in the first row because of all the artifact abilities that increase the damage of Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm. Execution Sentence seems like it would be a great single target talent, but it's just kind of weak right now, kind of crappy. Unless it gets buffed, you won't be using it. And if it does get buffed, all you need to know is that it costs 3 holy power, so make sure you have 3 holy power available for when it comes off cooldown. Consecration seems like a great AoE talent, and it sims pretty well, but the thing is that when you drop it, it stays right where you dropped it, and I don't know about you, but in most dungeons you're moving around a lot. It's just not very useful. It's not very convenient. Next row, Fires of Justice is pretty single target, Zeal is pretty good for cleave, and Greater Judgment is good for burst AoE. One nice thing to note is that it always deals a crit against targets above 50% health. Next row, you're probably going to be choosing between Fist of Justice if you want more stuns, and Blinding Light if you want an AoE disorient. Now in the next row, Virtue's Blade is only really going to be good maybe in the last little bit of Legion when we have a ton of crit on our gear. Right now it's just not that good. Blade of Wrath is currently the best single target talent, and Divine Hammer is of course your go-to AoE talent, and if you do the math, it's better on 2 targets if you are on those 2 targets the whole duration. Next row. This row is fairly obvious. Justicar's Vengeance is the only damage ability in there. One thing to note is that you do not want to generate 5 holy power to use it. Although Justicar's Vengeance does more damage than Final Verdict, it does not do more damage per holy power spent, so it's a waste of holy power to use it. So instead, you're going to want to use it with Divine Purpose. Anytime you get a Divine Purpose proc, you can spend it on Justicar's Vengeance. Eye for an eye, something has to melee you, not great. But it does have a damage reduction if that's what you want. Word of Glory, well, you can spend holy power to heal people if you want. Next row, Divine Intervention. This is a cool cheat death ability. One thing to note about how it works is that it does not bring you to 20% of your health, which the tooltip might suggest, but rather, say you're at 100% health and you get one shot by an ability, you will stay at 100%. If you're at 70% and you get one shot, it will heal you for 20% of your health. So you'll actually be at 90% health. It doesn't bring you down to 20% health. Next is our mobility talent, Cavalier. You can choose this for a talent that requires you to move a lot. You can run around on your horse. Not much else to say there. Seal of Light is kind of crappy, but I guess a lot of movement speed. Spending Holy Power on movement speed is good for farming. Currently, Divine Purpose sims as the best talent in the last tier. Free Holy Power abilities, you know? You can use it with Jeskar's Vengeance. Crusade is a little more bursty. We won't be able to cheese it like we have been in the the Legion pre-patch, because we won't have multiple charges of Avenging Wrath. But it's decent. It's decent. And Holy Wrath, it can be extremely powerful, and it can be fun, but it's super gimmicky, requires you to be very low health, and it likely does not have much of a place in progression. Now, I did say earlier that Wake of Ashes gives 5 Holy Power. This is only true when you have the golden trait Ashes to Ashes. Now, this is a very important trait. This is your best gold trait. You want to get there as quickly as possible. Now, after that, because our artifact is a little strangely designed, you're going to respec. This is currently decided to be the best artifact route. So you start here, you take a little shoop to Ashes of Ashes, so you have it for Mythic dungeons, and then when you have the opportunity, you respec and you follow the long path to Ashes of Ashes. This means you have some good traits for when you start actually raiding, and that you have Ashes to Ashes while you're doing Mythic dungeons. After that, you're going to go from here to Echo of the High Lord. Then, you're going to go to from here to Divine Tempest. Then, do these, get there, and once you've eventually filled out your entire artifact, you're going to put them all into Ashbringer's Light. It's just a solid damage increase. Now, say that, I don't know, Blizzard decides that, hey, we don't want people respecking their artifacts, and you can't do this little trick to get Ashes to Ashes right away. If dungeon damage isn't that important to you, you can start out by taking the long route. There's a great little picture going around on the Paladin Discord. It's got colored lines to show you what route you want to go. And Theet has a more in-depth artifact guide that you can look at as well. As for relics, you just want to put the relics in that have the highest item level. Highest item level gives higher weapon damage, and weapon damage is more deeps because you are a melee class. Now we're going to take a quick look at the legendaries. Some of them are great, some of them are mildly interesting. Justice Gaze, you're not going to be using the headpiece that much because it's kind of useless, except for out in the world. The Cloak is the best legendary. You want this. It increases the damage of your Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm, and you can keep this buff up basically permanently. It's just really good. This is kind of This is maybe interesting for PvP. The neck will increase your survivability, which is great, but we want damage. The wrists are actually very interesting because of the way they synergize with Holy Wrath. As a reminder, Holy Wrath deals 200% of your missing health. And I guess I should clarify that Holy Wrath does not scale with attack power, and it doesn't crit, so you can't do anything crazy with it. It's 200% of your missing health, nothing less, nothing more. Anyway, now this legendary, if you were to die, instead you get a giant shield of vengeance, and you are reduced to 1 health. Now, if we have health pools in Legion, a couple million, and Holy Wrath deals 200% of our missing health, we could probably have a little bit of fun with this legendary. Again, it's a little dangerous to use in progression rating, but it's something to think about. Our feet gives us some movement speed. That's nice because we're kind of slow. That's all to say. And the ring is probably our second best in slot legendary after the cloak. It gives us a holy power every 2.5 seconds while Avenging Wrath is active. let's talk a little bit about Paladin utility, because let's face it, we're not being brought to a raid for our damage. And I don't mean that a good Paladin can't beat out a, worse playing mage, but if you're a 90th percentile Paladin, and you're against a 90th percentile mage, you're not going to out-damage him. So what do we bring to the table? We don't do as much damage, but we have a lot of utility, we can help people, and we should basically never die. With Shield of Vengeance, we've got a huge Absorb Shield, and we've got Bubble to immune ourselves, no longer reduces our damage, and we've got Bop, which saves other people, and it doesn't prevent them from attacking anymore. We've got our blessings, and I'm going to answer a couple questions about blessings that people might be having. So, you can put 3 on at any time. It can be any mix of the 3. You can have 3 blessings of might. If you have multiple paladins in your raid, you can have 2 blessings of might or whatever blessing on the same person. They do stack. And Blessing of Kings, as I speak, unless it gets buffed, is useless, but say it does get buffed, you'd want to place it on a tank because it gives them an Absorb Shield. Blessing of Wisdom, your Disc Priests, for example, might really want this blessing during a long fight because it returns mana. It's a little useless on short fights, but it does add up on long fights. It's good for healers. And Blessing of Might, if you can't use anything else, you want to use Blessing of Might. Some people might think that, oh, I want to put this on myself. Don't do that unless you're one of the top 3 damage dealers. You want to put Blessing of Might on your top 3 damage dealers because their damage, the damage they proc from your greater blessing counts as your damage. Currently on damage meters, it looks like it's theirs, but if you look into logs, the damage is attributed to the Paladin. Now, we also have Hand of Freedom. Not particularly useful in raids, but it can be nice out in the world. And we have Hand of Hindrance, which, it's a 70% slow for a long time, which doesn't sound important, but if you've ever been on Gorfiend, chased by an angry skeleton, or dealing with Void Stars on Archimond, you'll know that slows can actually be quite important, and I wouldn't discount them. And of course, we have good old Lay on Hands, the 100% heal. Great for saving people's butts on progression. And on progression, you can't always save everyone with your bops and your Lay on Hands and all that stuff. So, say people do die, you have the good old passive, Retribution. When anyone dies, you gain 20% increased damage done and 30% reduced damage taken for 20 seconds. So that means that you're going to stay alive for longer, you're going to do more damage. It's just nice to have on progression when people are dying. You know, maybe it's a close wipe and you're the one who can pull it through. And if you're wondering, yes, people can die for you every 20 seconds, and you can have Retribution up the whole fight if you're trying to rank. Now, as for Paladin resources, we're lucky to have a great Paladin Discord with a lot of great people in it. It's a good community. And some things to note, we've got Feet Gaming. He's got some great in-depth Paladin videos. He goes more in-depth than I do, and he's got a great artifact video if you want to go a little more into detail about each of the traits. Rebdol, she has a great Wowhead guide. Svain has a good guide on the official forums. I'll be linking stuff in the, the description, so that you can check them all out. Thanks for watching.